G'day, welcome. Welcome to the preview, round 9 preview on My Blue Heaven, and I'm putting this together at right on midday. I'm putting this together on a Friday afternoon. So, and a good time actually, because I've just read on social media that Jesse Motlop will make his debut for the football club this weekend. The youngster from Western Australia, so that is good news for him, and very exciting for us as supporters to see this young man in action. And the teams won't be officially finalised until 5 p.m. tonight, which makes that, looking at that interchange from, which was announced yesterday, very interesting. I'll get to that shortly. Greater Western Sydney, round 9, v Carlton, 3:20, another sort of late-ish Sunday afternoon game at Giants Stadium, a ground we haven't won at. And we've been there a little bit, but we've also never won at the Adelaide Oval as well. So there might be a bit in that. I mean, we played the Crows last week at home. Who knows? Who knows if we played the Crows at the Adelaide Oval? So, are we that team at the moment? Are we that team that essentially can't travel or have that barrier? We're just going to have to wait and see. Do we like the comforts of a home? We've certainly played exceptionally good football in the last 2 weeks at Marvel Stadium, against poor opposition. So 4th v 15th. And that's us, 4th. That's us, 4th, not the Giants, who are 15th. 6-2 record ours versus the 2-6 record of the Giants. They've only won the 2 games. If you would have said this 2 years ago, okay, this would have been Giants 4th and us 15th. So the tables have turned somewhat. And you'd fully expect on that that the Giants would go in as massive favourites. I've just checked the odds on Sportsbet, and the Giants go in favourites for this game. And that's with the bookies and the punters. The Giants are favourites for this game, which makes us, from that point of view, underdogs. But looking at that record this year and looking at the ladder position, I don't know about that. Okay, so Giants 2 wins so far this season. They beat the Gold Coast Suns at home by 26 points in round 3. That was their first win. And we know the Gold Coast did a number on us. And they got over the Crows at the Adelaide Oval the week before we did last week by 59. So they can go. They can go when they're on. But they haven't been on. They haven't been on this year. And we look at their losses. They weren't horrific against Sydney in round 1. That game was at Olympic Stadium. I remember that game. They were right in that against Sydney in round 1. Richmond in round 2, they were pathetic. Thought they were really pathetic. We'd stitched up the Tigers the week before. Dockers, they got them away like we did. They got them away, the Dockers, in round 4. They weren't blown out of the water, but they were never in it. Melbourne smacked their bum. So that's two really tough back-to-back away games against the Dockers of Melbourne. That was at the MCG. The Saints just got them. That was at home for the Giants, and the Saints were on a bit of a roll there, and they were smacked. They were comprehensively beaten last week by Geelong, who I still rate. I really rate Geelong. That was in Canberra, though, at Manuka Oval. And I watched that game pretty closely, and the Giants weren't awful inside the contest. They weren't, okay? Their midfield was actually not too bad. It was on the outside where they were destroyed, and Geelong's system just really stacked up. And they were really never in the game against Geelong. And I don't look, as much as I know we're not looking at Geelong here, but as much as people continue to, kick the boots into Geelong, they still are a powerhouse as far as I'm concerned. And they did a number on the Giants last week. So whether we're able to do something similar, I don't know. So I'm going to put it on the table right here, right now. I'm not going to sit on the fence. Fuck that. I'm not sitting on the fence. I think the Giants they're going to beat us this weekend. I really do. And even before the outs, We talk about Harry, then Lewis Young, and the injury to Martin last week. I was 50-50 and probably just swaying in favour of the Giants even before that. And there's a lot of reasons why I'm thinking that. I remember that feeling I had in my belly before the Gold Coast Suns game. That feeling is sort of back. I'm a lot more confident with our team and what we're building, and we definitely are on the right track. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's going to happen this week against the Giants. So I think we'll be on. And we can only imagine. So we look at, just quickly, the ins for us. Okay, obviously we lose Harry, Young and Martin. So the ins, Kemp comes in. Interesting one. Looks like he'll play back. Hasn't done a hell of a lot at reserve grade level to, I suppose, earn that spot. That's a really interesting one. Brody Kemp started the year as a forward in the practice games, and really his form has been iffy at reserve grade level, but he comes in to the team. He's in the selected lineup, we know that. And you look at the interchange from, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, other than, and this is no disrespect to those guys, other than Georgie Hewitt, who I don't think's any certainty to play. I mean, are they playing sort of funny buggers naming him on the interchange from? They probably are. But you look at that interchange, no disrespect, as I said, but it looks fringe city. We know now Motlop's in. So the rest of Boyd, Owies, Plowman, Dow, Cottrell, Fogarty, and obviously if Hewitt is right, he plays. So it's a combination. Motlop coming in is interesting. So they're going to go really small, Motlop, Owies and Durden. Does Motlop become the cream on the top of the hard-working Durden and Owies, who are not essentially getting on the end of goals and hitting the scoreboard, but they are doing some terrific defensive work. So does Motlop become the cream? I'm not quite sure. But if I'm a betting man, Plowman's in. There's no doubt Plowman will be in. Whether I agree with that or not, I think he'll come in. And I thought Boyd was good last week for a defensive role. I thought Boyd was really good. So for me, it's bloody hard. I think it's Hewitt, Plowman. Oh, maybe it isn't Boyd. I'm not quite sure. To be perfectly honest, I've got no idea. I just think if Hewitt's fit, he'll be there. We know Motlop's going to be there. I think Plowman will play. So it becomes very bloody interesting out of Owies and Boyd. And looking at that, maybe Owies isn't safe, because I thought Boyd was terrific last week in a defensive role, and that may be important against the Giants. You're going to have to wait until 5 p.m. We're going to have to wait. We have a shocking record against this mob, but we have a shocking record against most teams over the last decade, or at least 6 or 7 years since this rebuild started. And they've basically bullied us. They really have physically bullied us. And they've been a good team. They have been a really good team. And they've still got some talent. And they've got some motivation. Obviously, Leon, and when we talk about those midfield bullies, in particular Ward, he always plays well on us. Taranto, they've got young Green now who's coming through. And then you got the cream of the crop, Kelly and Canelio, and there's a lot there. We know that. And Big Bruce, obviously, in the ruck, and Mumford's been around the scene. He's not there now, but Big Bruce in the ruck. De Konning's going to have his hands full, particularly around the ground with that beast. So it's a big job for him. But with Leon Cameron making his announcement, I don't know. I got no idea how that will affect them. He's been there a long time. He'd have to be loved. He'd have to be loved by his players. He'd have to be. You don't survive that long at a football club without being, without doing a really good job. And those senior players would generally like to send him off on a really, really positive note. So there is a bit in that. There has to be a bit in that. But as I said before, even before all this stuff, the injuries to us with Harry and now Young, I was swaying towards the Giants. And I can only imagine what our football club, with Voss and the coaching staff, saying internally. It'd be all about, what they can control. They can't control the fact that Leon Cameron's gone. They can't control the fact that we've got injuries, that we're playing away, etc., etc. So we can just imagine it. Okay, to be concentrating on what we've done well over the last couple of weeks and building on that confidence. I mean, if they look all after all that stuff, okay, we get the 4 points. But our record so far on the road is poor. I sort of think about that with this game. Our record on the road is poor. Gold Coast Suns, pathetic. Pathetic. And then it's Fremantle in Perth, not much better. Is it too much bacon from the breakfast buffet at the hotel? Who knows? Who knows if that is a barrier? If that is a barrier for this team, it probably isn't. It probably isn't, and they won't be talking about that. But do they change things up? We're only going to have to wait and see. Wait and see. But I'm picking the Giants because I don't feel we should be ready. We should be ready. I'll put that on the table right here, right now. Where are we at? We should be ready to be winning these games of football, even when we are missing, arguably the best key forward in the game. And that does make a difference. Structurally, that does make a difference. And we can't shy away from that. We can't. But if we are a good side, and we believe we are a good side, and we believe we are building leadership, and we believe these players are more accountable and they care for one another, we should be able to go there against a team that is in great form, and regardless of what they're playing for this weekend, we should be able to go there and get the 4 points. But I still have doubts, even though we are building, and I saw things last week being at the ground that I really like, particularly the players behind the ball and their direction and what they were doing. I just don't know yet. I just don't know. And there's too many unknowns with a lot of players in this football team as far as I'm concerned. And you look across, you look at the likes of Lockie O'Brien and Jack Nunes, who've shown some, they've shown some good things over the last couple of weeks against poor opposition. Jack Carroll's now fronting up for his third game, and he's been good, but he has to now front up for his first game. We're now playing a youngster in Jesse Motlop, who's making his debut in essentially a really young and inexperienced forward line. You look at that forward line, okay, with Durden, Owies, even Fisher's inexperienced in that role, okay, with Charlie, who's coming back, all right, and Jack. I mean, they haven't played a lot of football together. And you look at the midfield, and and theirs is strong. It is a strong midfield. They love to handball, but they are a contested midfield, and essentially that's what we are as well. It becomes, I suppose, that midfield becomes a battle of who's best on the outside, and they do like to handball, whereas our game now is more leaning towards kicking. And you hate to put too much pressure on Patrick Cripps, because he has been absolutely unbelievable. But this is not specifically about Patrick Cripps, the player, which it still is. But I think this week, this is the most significant game, I think, for him, that he's probably, it's a big call, but I see this, if we get the points here, as such a significant win for the football club. And if he's able to lead this team, not just him, Jacob Wiedering, Sam Walsh, and the other periphery leaders, Doherty, and I've heard, Nick Newman is a great leader in that back half, and Zach Williams is building that part of his game as well. You hear these things. But if Cripps, and if we believe that this team has got now building strong leadership, we get the 4 points here. We get the 4 points. I truly believe it. I still have my doubts. And we saw what happened to this team when Cripps went down against the Gold Coast Suns. It just turned to shit. So there's a lot relying on Patrick Cripps at the moment. He's leading this team superbly. He's leading this team superbly, both as a player and also a leader. And we see that. But this game, this away, with what's happened, becomes just huge. And I don't know whether we're up to that just yet. I don't know. We should be, but I don't know whether we are. And you look in the wings of that. You look in the wings of that Giants team, and you look at someone like Matt DeBoer, who's just floating around on that interchange from, and you just know he's going to come in. You just know he's going to come into this team. You know he's going to come and take, it probably won't be Cripps, it'll probably be someone like a Walsh again, who I think I mentioned it in my review last week, I think Walsh has been a little bit down, okay? And that's okay. All right, but we can't afford to have our midfield, they all needed to contribute at a high level this week against what I consider to be still a really, really strong GWS Giants midfield. So it becomes a battle, obviously, of talent. Okay, it comes a battle of who's got the best system. And it also comes a battle of strength of mind in this game. And are we ready? Are we ready? I think we're ready, but are we actually ready? And I look at someone like Toby Green in that front half, and I think back to guys who've done damage to our football team in the past. So they sort of medium-sized, really confident, arrogant type. Not arrogant, but really sort of, I don't know, almost like they love the big stage. They love the big stage. And he worries it. So who plays on him? It's such a big role. And I go back to that game when Lachie Schultz, and I'm not saying Lachie Schultz is a green at all by any stretch of the imagination. He's nowhere. But that Lachie Schultz and what he was able to do in that game against Fremantle, how he exploded in that second quarter when the game was relatively close and just tore the game apart with just, with not only his ability to hunt the footy, but also to be able to hit the scoreboard. And that's what I see. Toby Green being able to do against us. And they're not possessed with great tall players in their front half. Wiedering will probably go to Hogan. We know that. But without Young, I mean, who I consider to be, on his day, a very, very dangerous mobile forward in Harry Himmelberg. I mean, are we comfortable? We are comfortable in Brody Kemp playing on Harry Himmelberg? Are we comfortable with that? Is that what we're going to go with? It's a big call. It's a big call as far as I'm concerned. And then you talk about our front half without Harry and that combination. It's hard not to ignore. I mean, why have both of them been so good this year? Why did Charlie kick 6 last week and Harry kick 3? It's the combination. It's the combination that works. Them guys working in tandem together. So if Harry's not there, I mean, I rate Sam Taylor. Fuck, he's a very, very good young. And he's not young anymore, but he's a very good key position defender. He'll go to Charlie. So to me that really cuts Charlie out, particularly if Sam Taylor's on song. And they've got Lachie Keith as well, okay, who can play a role in that regards as well. So they're not short, okay, down back. But Sam Taylor's the one who will go to Charlie, which leaves Jack as our, I suppose, a guy who has to hit the scoreboard. And this is where the problem comes. So we love Durden. We love Durden and know his defensive pressure. Okay, and we hear things like, they're struggling, but that's incorrect. Their defensive pressure is unbelievable. And their ability, particularly Durden, to hit up the ground and get back, and his running ability has been really impressive. But this is where now, without Jack Martin as well, this is where you need them. You need them to hit the scoreboard. You can't ignore that. And they haven't been. For the most part, as small forwards, they haven't been hitting the scoreboard because essentially they probably haven't had to. Now, if I get to the end of this game and we've won this game of football and Durden hasn't kicked a goal and Owies hasn't kicked a goal, that is a remarkable effort by our football club. If those two boys haven't impacted the scoreboard, that is a significant, that is unbelievable as far as I'm concerned. So as far as I say, they have to kick goals. They have to kick goals. And is that why Motlop is coming in? Because he is a finisher. He is a finisher. I must say, I am believing that we are on the right track. I'm just not in a position to pick us this week. It's as simple as that. I just think there's too many unknowns, and I know our midfield is good, but theirs is as well. And you look at that strength in the ruck, the Conning v Bruce, and Bruce is not. I mean, he's not a great ruckman, but we know he's big and we know he's strong, and they do have big boys around that midfield. They do. And you look at someone like Tom Green. You just look at someone like Tom Green. And they do have some underrated defenders who can do a job. You know, Connor Iden can do a job down back. Isaac Cumming can do a job down back. Nick Haynes, okay, we know he's a really good intercept defender. He's not great one-on-one, but he's a good intercept defender. So they've got some things going on from the Giants, and so do we. We really do, but not this week for mine. Not this week for mine. And we are probably in a position still where we think, are we that good? Are we that good? Because we've beaten up on two average football teams at home. At home over the last 2 weeks, we now have to travel with significant outs. But we should be in a position still to be winning, but we've got significant outs, plus all the other crap that's going on with the Giants as well. It's to me, this will be a great win, regardless if it's by 5 points, whether it's by 25 points, whatever the margin is, this will be a great win. I'll be fucking savage though if this sort of blows out. I mean, I'll be savage if we lose, but I'll be savage if this blows out. To your sort of Fremantle Docker, Gold Coast Sun sort of score line, okay, where you sort of start okay and then it just falls away. Okay, thanks for your company, guys. I look forward to. I think I've covered it all. I'll look forward to putting together the comprehensive review of this game probably on Monday. I am excited about it. I'm just not picking us, that's all. That's okay. Catch you soon.